Welcome back. Today I thought we would do something just kind of fun and with not a lot of thought that goes into it. I like these type of exercises because if you're new to watercolor, you don't have to think about this. This is about play, and it's also about experimenting with your colors that you have. So what we're going to be doing is something like this. We're going to tape off our watercolor paper, and I am using this bow hung, I believe it's called. Yes, it is 100% cotton. It was not very expensive. I think I got it on Amazon. Um, it is cold press, I believe. It's got a little bit of a texture to it, but it's a block. So the nice thing about a block is that you can add a ton of water and you don't have to worry about your paper buckling. So what we're going to do is we're going to take some masking tape, and if you've got washi tape, you can use that also. I have not had the best of luck with some brands of washi tape. They come up, um, but this seems to work pretty good. This is drafting tape and it's 1/4 inch, and I like this size. So I masked everything off, and I did not measure, or I just eyeballed everything because this is an exercise. This is supposed to be fun. And after we throw some colors down, and this one was all done with greens and pinks and purples, and my favorite color combination is purple and green. So once everything is dry, then we're going to go back in with some micron pens that I have here, and we're just going to add in some little doodads here and there. You can also go back in with watercolor if you want to add your details. And I think today we'll try both and we'll see what happens. Um, so this is a intuitive type of exercise. You're going to look at the paint that you've put on the paper, and you're going to try and find something in that that looks like a landscape to you. And you can see here that I tried several different colors. And this actually was from a trip to the Catskills. And what I wanted to do was to create like a little swatch paper for myself with just the colors that I saw, especially in the rock formations. So that's what this was all about. This was all of the different colors that I saw, the veining and things like that, and the moss growing on the rocks. So I just wanted to capture that as something for myself. And maybe I can refer back to this later, and you can see I went really wild with the with the tape and the different shapes. So I think today we'll just stick to rectangles and squares, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to start taping all of this off, and I do tape off the edges as well. Like I said, there's no rhyme or reason for the shapes that I'm going to make. I'm just going to start taping. And you can do like I think on the other page, on this first page, I did, you know, I did like one big square. So if you want to do like one big square in the middle or one long rectangle as kind of like a focal point, you can do that. But we're not going to be too fussy about about all of this, because this is supposed to be about play, and it's supposed to be about getting curious with your paints. And I wanted to talk about the paints that I'm going to be using today. And I have not tried this with these. So the first set is made by, I think it's Gansai Tambi, and these are uh, granulating colors. So I have played with these like for maybe 5 minutes, and that's about it. And I did spray them just to get them activated. And this is going to be like a really wild edition, I think. So this set here, which is in my little Celestial Seasonings tin, this is a palette that I made. These are all of my Daniel Smith Primatech colors. They are like the genuine mineral colors. So I have kyanite, and you can see that that's got a little bit of a shimmer to it. There's amethyst genuine, amazonite, jadeite, tiger's eye, sedona, zolcite, how does it say I don't know what that says. Oh, green apatite. I thought it said graphite. Then we have bronzine, I think, hematite, and tourmaline. So these are the colors I'm going to be working with. It's a very neutral palette. And then I'm going to add in some of these wonky granulating colors. I don't know what's going to happen because I haven't tried it. So we're going to find out together. And I hope that after watching this, that you'll go grab your paints and maybe put this on play again and watch it again. And you can paint along with me. So like I said, there's really no rhyme or reason as to how I'm going to do this. And I am not going to bore you with my taping. So um, I am going to speed this up. Okay, I think I am going to start up in this top left corner because I will drag my arm through the paint if I don't. So I'm going to get an appropriately sized brush here. Whoop, got flying brushes everywhere. And I am just going to wet this block. Now my studio is extremely dry. It's winter time here right now. And I put a humidifier in here today, so I'm going to see if that makes any sort of difference. But you want to wet your block and make sure that you don't have any standing puddles. And then we're going to decide what colors we're going to use, or at least I am. So um, I'm going to respray these to activate them. Um, these take a hot minute to get going. So, and maybe we'll use this tourmaline, which is like black. So I'm going to be kind of sparing that. And then I'm going to pick one of these colors. I think I'm going to try this Aurora pink, and these seem to have dried out already. So I don't know. Okay. I am going to make sure that my paper is still wet, and it is. So I'm going to pick up some of this color, and this is really light. I might just go straight into the pan because um, if you have water in a block, if you dilute it with water over here, it's going to be that much lighter when you put it on top of the water that you already have in this block. So I'm just going to go straight into this pan. Um, and I am just randomly going to drop some colors in here. And I'll do the same thing with this tourmaline. And I might do the same thing. I just might go straight into the pan and start laying these colors in. And I don't have anything in my head as far as like, oh, I'm going to try to, paint this landscape or whatever. I'm not. I just want to play around with these colors. So I've got some over here. And these are the granulating colors. And I'm going to go right into that pan too. So, and I'm just going to leave it like that. And I might add a little bit more of this tiger's eye in there. And I'm going to see what happens. And if you feel really adventurous, you can throw some salt in there. I think I have some salt. And the reason I don't use salt a lot is because I'm really impatient. And I think the salt always works a lot better when you let it dry on its own. If you try to speed the process up with the blow dryer, you're probably going to have wet paint under the crystals, and when you go to brush it off, it'll smear. It's happened to me so many times. That's why I don't use salt a lot. But since this is the first block, hopefully it'll be dry by the time we come back around. So I think the next block that I'm going to try is, I said I was going to work from left to right. So I'm going to stick with my plan here. And I'm going to go into this green apatite. And I need to wet my block first before I get carried away here. And I don't know, I love doing stuff like this because I think it kind of stretches yourself creatively, and you have to rely on your intuition, you know, um, to actually see what you can see. And there's also an element of trust too, because once you start going in with your details, you're relying on your own your own vision. And I think this is a lot of fun. All right. I said we were going to do the green apatite. This should be really neat. And you get to see too exactly how these colors are going to spread, right? Um, it's a great way to get to know your paint. And now we're going to do something. We're going to go right into this Aurora Violet. This is a little crazy. There's just something about purple and green for me. I don't know. And instead of salt, do I want to add another color in there? Let's add some of this hematite. This is a really cool color. I love using this for bark on trees because it is a granulating color and it will do all the work for you. It'll give you a really nice, like wood texture. I think that was what I used when when I painted Kensuke heart. It's a heart with cherry blossoms growing out of it and a lot of gold ink, but it works wonderfully, like I said, for branches. Yeah, we'll see what happens here. But I'm going to rinse my brush out and then I'm going to add some little drops of water just just because this is my preferred method over salt just because I'm impatient. So, okay. Now we're going to go on to the next one. And I have a tendency to use my clean water for dirty water a lot. So I'm going to dump that back out and fill this up. I really do hope that you'll give this a try. This is a great, like, if you can't think of anything to do or you're short on time, this doesn't take long at all. Okay, so on to our next color combination here. Get this block nice and wet. This is something you could do too if you wanted to experiment with um, the water that you have on your paper. Watercolor works in, like stages. So you can take one block and throw a bunch of color on it right after you've put your water down. And then maybe in the next block, lay your water in and let your water sit for a couple of minutes and then add your paint and see what the difference is. So these are things to think about when you're doing something like this, because a lot of watercolor is about the timing and you have to know your environment too, how humid it is, how dry it is, that kind of thing. I'm going to try this kyanite because I need to pull this out. I think maybe, I don't know. It's got a little bit of a metallic, little bit of a shimmer in there, which I think would be fun. And then I think I'm going to try this Aurora orange. And I don't think this granulating set was very expensive either. I got it on Amazon, and I'll leave the link in the description. So if you want to check these out, you can. I think I'm going to leave that one just like it is. And we're going to move on to this little one down here. And I love this jadeite. I think this is the jadeite. Is it? That's Amazonite. Okay, so we'll do Amazonite. Maybe I want to get this one really soupy. And let's see, we tried the violet. We have not done the blue yet. I want to get this one a little bit more soupy too. And then we just let these colors mix and do whatever they want. You can tilt your paper too. If that's something that you want to try, you can tilt your paper if you've got a lot of paint on there. And I just spilled my clean water. So, and just so you know, this is how I roll. I'm like, you know, I am not this klutzy like in real life, just when I sit down at my studio desk. So you'll have to like bear with me when this kind of stuff happens, because it happens a lot. If there is wet paint that I can drag my clothes through, I will. So, okay. Anyway, what I was saying was that, yeah, you can tip your paper and let the paint move and do what it wants to do. Like I said, drop some water in there, add some salt, make it interesting. Okay, so I'm going to finish this side, and I'll probably speed it up just a little bit. But you get the idea. So when I come back, I'll have painted everything and everything will be dry, and we'll move on to adding the details. So I have let this dry overnight, and um, I kind of brushed off the salt on this one, and I think that looks pretty good. I think I got most of it, and I was going to peel the tape off off camera, and then I thought, no, because that's like one of the most satisfying parts when you're doing something like this. So I wanted to save that, and I thought we could do this together because this always is so rewarding, especially after making kind of a mess in these little squares and then peeling off this tape. Um, just makes it look really neat. So it's like one of my favorite parts. And after you get this off, then you need to decide um, whether you want to add your details with your watercolor or if you want to go in with some pen. And we can do a little bit of both and see how that works. So I think I'm going to start with, I don't know. I have to kind of take a look at this. And this one is like confounding me right now. All I can, and this is really awful, like my husband's a sci-fi fan. And so I've watched a lot of sci-fi movies, and this reminds me of the sandworm on Dune. It's awful. So right now, that's like all I'm seeing, and maybe I should flip it upside down. And um, anyway, we'll put that one to the side. At least I'm going to, and I'm gonna pick which one I want to go with for my pen work. I think I'm gonna choose this, and I am gonna use a. I think I have a 003. I do, and I also have a 005, and a 01 would be good. And I don't know how the 005 is gonna do on watercolor paper because this is cold press. Uh, we can check out this 003. And I'm kind of looking for, things that I see like this might be some sort of, um, yeah, I didn't think that the smaller pens were going to work on this rough texture. So let's try the 01. Um, so I feel like this is some sort of a rock formation back here. I may even have to go, there we go. And maybe these are some trees back here like this. I'm going to keep it very scribbly and very loose. And you can make sure that you're keeping it loose by holding it in the back of the pen. Actually, this would make kind of a cool building back here, I think. This pen's just not playing nice with this paper. Um, let's try something else. I have this is a ballpoint pen. It's made by Uniball, and it's a 0.28. So it's a really fine line. And let me get this going on a piece of scrap paper, and let's see how this does. I feel like this could be like a door. Maybe this is a wall. You know how sometimes when you go out in the woods, there's like um, a ruin, kind of like old houses. I know here in New York, you'll find, um, the remnants of a building. So maybe that's what this is. I don't know. I can put some sort of like indications of some stone. Yeah, and like I said, I'm just keeping this all really scribbly. I'm gonna thicken up this tree though. It's a little bit lost. And I don't think you don't need a lot of pen work to define something. I don't want to overdo it because Um, what I find so beautiful about these is the watercolor. And all I'm doing with the pen is pulling out some shapes, really. And I don't have to detail this entire building in order to have the viewer look at it and understand what it is. So you just need to make a suggestion sometimes, and your brain and your eyeball will do the rest as far as understanding what these shapes are and what this is. So I don't know, maybe this is a little wall and let's try a bigger pen. I have some brush pens. I think this is a brush pen. No, that's a bullet tip. I do have a 02, although I'm kind of liking the thin lines. And this, let's see, this will work too. This is a little bit thicker of a tip. So I'm just going to pull out, you know, maybe some of these are trees. And we'll keep this right here as a bush. And there are no mistakes with this because this is just play. So I think this is just a really good, fun exercise to do, and it's a great way to finish these off, especially if you're playing with colors and experimenting with the different palettes that you have and the different tubes of paint, and um, so you could very easily do all of these squares, let them dry, and then maybe this is something you do while you're watching TV at night. And I really have to change out my chair because it's so squeaky. So I'm going to finish this one off. I'm going to speed it up a little bit, and then I'll show you how I would approach one with watercolor. It's going to be pretty much the same thing. We're just going to use um, a wet on dry technique. We're not going to pre-wet our squares like we did in the first step. Okay, so I'm pretty happy with that. I'm not going to do anything really in the background because it reminds me of like a misty forest, and it would not have any defined edges. So I'm just going to leave that fuzzy like that. So that's enough information for me. I know exactly what I'm looking at. Um, so let's move on to another one. And this time I'm going to use my brush, and I'm going to use my paint, and I need something that's going to stand out against the background. So I'm going to do this one right here. And I think I'm going to use this tiger's eye. And I think, this could be like some cliffs. So I'm I want to do something that's, kind of textural. I think actually this Sedona would work really nice. Mix that in. And maybe I can do a little bit of dry brushing to get some texture in here. It's a little bit difficult because I've got a glare on my paint here. And I'm just holding my brush on its side, and it's a lot of paint. It's paint, not a lot of water, just so that I can get this um, this kind of textural feel, so that it will read um, like a little cliff or some sort of rock formation. Maybe this up here too. And I'm just really kind of scumbling and dragging my brush across. It's, nothing too thought out, I guess, about it. And I have this white spot right in the middle of the sky, so I'm gonna wet my brush and fix that in just a second because it's annoying. And maybe at the bottom we can put in some we can put in some grass or something. Oops, I ruined the neatness of it. All right. So I just wet that a little bit, grab my paper towel and blot it, and voila. I don't, sometimes I think, I don't know who said that watercolor was unforgiving or super difficult, but I know a lot of people kind of stay away from it because they think it's harder than it really is. um, and there are things that you can do, like what I just did. You can lift out watercolor, so it is forgiving. So maybe we'll turn that into a tree because it's looking like some sort of weird um, kind of formation. And I'm just adjusting the this line right here, make it a little bit more jagged looking. Okay, so I'm going to grab some green and I'm going to mix this Zolcite, which is a very gray, very dark gray green. And I'm just going to, kind of back and forth, tap in. We'll tap in a little tree here. And maybe one up here because I've got this little splotch of orange. Do I can't do just two, um, so we'll put one right here. Okay, and in the foreground, I'm going to grab some of this green apatite and mix it into this osite. I don't know if I like that actually. No, it's okay. Um, so in order for things to read like they're closer, or in the foreground, you can adjust the temperature of your colors so that they're warmer, and things in the distance are typically cooler. So that is exactly what we're doing with this. And I just want to very carefully, I'm going to start in the corner and kind of flick my brush just to create like a little vignette effect, because it will give the appearance that we're looking up. And we can do a couple in the middle here. something like that. And when I look at this sky, I used the that kyanite, and it's got, I don't know if you can see this or not, but it's like really fine um, glitter, like silver glitter, and it's looks very much like a night sky to me. So instead of wetting my brush and covering this up, I think what I'm going to do is grab some. I'm going to grab some drawing ink or bleed proof white by Dr. P.H. Martin's, and I am going to add a little moon in there. And you can use white gouache for this, or if you have a white gel pen, that would work too. So I prefer using this. Sometimes my gel pens, they don't work really well over watercolor paper. If you've got a white gel pen that you love, now that I think about it, you know what? There is one white pen that I do love, and we're going to use it because this will make our life a little bit easier. It's a Posca pen. So this is an acrylic marker, and this is the favorite tip size that I love. This is a 0.7 millimeter, and it's not a bullet tip. It's just, um, it is kind of a bullet tip, I guess, but it's the finest one that they make, and that'll be a lot easier to control. And it does work pretty well on watercolor paper. So I'm gonna very carefully add this in. We might have a little bit of a wonky moon here. Uh, there. And if you're using a white Posca pen like this and you make a mistake, if you're quick about it, you can wet your brush and kind of wipe it out, and then blot it up. So these are pretty forgiving too, but you have to be quick. Um, so maybe we can add a couple of stars or something. I'll use my, let's see, I'll use my brush for this and the ink that I've got that I set out. Just a couple here and there. There. And that's pretty much all I would do with that. Okay, so I'm going to move on to another one. And let's see. Let's have a go with this one. And I'm going to use my brush again. I like the way the watercolor looks, I think, as opposed to the pen. And that's just a personal preference. I'm not quite sure what this is going to be. Um, Maybe some rolling hills or some fields or something like that. Um, Okay, so I think I'm pretty much finished with this. Um, I got a little bit of white ink right here. I did pull out these granulating colors again just because I have so much of this in here. For this one, I wanted to add like a few little flowers, and I wanted to try out these paints again, see how they do when they're a little bit more concentrated. Um, I will say this one down here got away from me a little bit. I can't, I'm having a little bit of a time trying to figure out what I want that to be. And the same thing with this one up here at the top. This is just kind of an abstract landscape, I guess. The rest of them I feel pretty good about. I might add some more dots, maybe some more, maybe I'll make that a bird. Let's make this little boo boo a bird. Maybe, ah, there we go. Something like that. And so this is my take on a waterfall. I'm going to give it, I did that with ink. I did that with the PH Martin's ink and just sort of drug my brush. So I'm going to add a couple of little more, let's see, streaky lines like that. Just make it pop a little. And then some of the splash down here. And then I can wet my brush and kind of soften the bottom of that. You can also take these pens and, they have the tip on them. You have to pump it to get the ink to come down to the tip. And you can always put some on a piece of paper and use it that way as well. So this is wet down here, so I thought that would make a really nice little splash here, kind of a misty water. You know how it gets to the bottom of a waterfall. So like that. I'll just soften out some of those edges. So that I think that reads a little bit better as a waterfall. I'm gonna put some little marks here, some white. It's just there we go. So you can get really carried away with these. Um, don't be too hard on yourself if you can't figure something out like this or like this. This is all just about play and seeing what we can kind of intuitively see. And they look like little abstract pieces. So give this a try and make sure to try out some different colors that maybe you typically wouldn't ever put together or use. You might come up with some really surprising results. So have fun, and I will see you in the next video. Take care.